Welcome to the program. You already know what it is. Today is Friday, August 7th, 2020, and you are now tuned in live and direct to the Karen Hunter Show. I'm Lamont King, filling in for the vacationing Karen Hunter. She's taking a break. And it's also hashtag Foolishness Friday. You're listening to Sirius XM Urban View, channel 126, where talk empowers and becomes action. You can follow us at SXM Urban View on Twitter and Instagram. And right about now, I want to bring to the program somebody I watch, I admire and respect, doing a hell of a job on TV. You might have seen her contributing on CNN. She had her own show on CourtTV. Please welcome to the program, Yodit Tewolde.
Hey,
am I saying it right?
What's up?
Did I even say it right, though?
You know what? A for effort, but no, we're going to have to work on that off air.
Oh, okay. How do you say it? How should I say it? How should it sound?
Yodit Tewolde.
Oh,
okay. You got to have the roll of that tongue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it takes some practice.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that. That sounded way different than what I did. Way different. How you been, though?
It's all good. I'm good. It's been a minute, right?
Yeah, it's been a minute since, I believe, Roland Martin's show, where we had the fiasco.
Like 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. We had Ashgate, but, we got through it.
We talked about this now, Lamont. I said, keep that off air.
You're right.
See, you starting some stuff now. That's all right.
Me.
That's why I love radio. We ain't got to worry about okay?
Yeah. So what you got going on now? Because I'm seeing your face a lot. And every time I see your name comes up, it's activist, it's advocate, it's attorney. You're wearing a lot of hats. Your social media is popping. You got some things launching. What you got going on?
You know, I wish that we were having this conversation like in a few more weeks, because then I could really get some details. But what I can say is that, yes, I'm working on some really great things. I've got some projects that I'm going to be working on that I hope will bring some like real, systemic change within our justice system. And of course, when that initiative and my role in that whole thing is made public in a few weeks, then, I could definitely break it down in more detail. But I'm really excited about that. And I'm also collaborating with the GRIO, and, we're producing a series of videos on, various legal issues and cases. And, I've always been really big on educating our community on the law and keeping folks informed. So, especially with what we're going through right now, the state of affairs.
Right.
So, this couldn't be more on time. And I'm just really excited about that. So, yeah.
So the CourtTV situation, so that's ended? That ran its course?
Yeah.
Or?
So I left CourtTV at the end of last year. And I had a great time. It was definitely me experiencing sitting in the anchor chair. I'm used to being asked questions, like, you mentioned earlier, introing me for these 2-minute, segments. I'm asked the question, I'm answering it, and I'm done. Whereas now I was hosting a show for 3 hours, asking the question, and what we were doing was covering huge cases around the country. And, that couldn't be more important. CourtTV was, it's been a staple. It was on air for like 20 years. It covered OJ and all these other big cases. And I thought, why in the hell is it off the air? And it came back, it relaunched, and we couldn't use this. It's such a needed program. People could really, you ain't got to be in a courtroom sitting in one of the, inside the courtroom. You could actually see what's going on in a lot of these cases across the country from your TV screen. So it was definitely a pleasure to experience that. And then it was back to me coming back to my city and practicing law again. So it was a great experience for me.
Oh, really? So you got back in the courtroom after being on TV?
Yeah. You know how hard it is to actually watch people doing what you love to do from the seat? I was like, I got to get back to Dallas and I got to get back into the courtroom. I never knew how much I actually missed it until I actually came, went away from the practice. I never thought that I was actually going to come back, but it keeps me sharp, and it keeps me, really, when you go on TV and you talk about things, or even not on TV, just public speaking, people talk about things they've never experienced. I never wanted to be one of those people. So it keeps me sharp, and it keeps me, credible. So, yeah.
Now, you are a criminal defense attorney. correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So when you came back, did you find yourself, I guess, in court practicing through a different set of lenses or a different eye from what you had been through, from broadcasting, coming back in the courtroom, seeing those cases, talking about those cases,
Yeah.
and now it
Yeah.
just looks different. Did it look clearer, or how did it look?
No. It honestly, so as a practicing lawyer, a lot of times we get so bogged down in the work and trying to get more work, and you lose sight of actually being able to learn from other attorneys, right? So,
Right.
When I was first coming out, I would sit in court a couple times and just see how things go so I could learn. Once you start getting really kind of used to the practice, you stop doing that. You start really feeling like you know everything, and you really don't. It's an ongoing process. So for me, sitting in the anchor chair, watching other lawyers try cases, it gave me that opportunity to step back and actually watch. You see what I'm saying? So when I came back to the practice, it made me, one, even a sharper lawyer because I learned some things just being able to sit and watch.
Wow.
So that's what that gave me. But no, in terms of how I saw the justice system, it never changed at all. I just wanted other people to be able to see it.
I have a partner of mine who's a civil rights attorney in Philadelphia, and he told me he's worked on both sides of the aisle as prosecutor and now as criminal defense. And he says that there is a difference. He approached it the same way, but there is a difference. Speak to what that difference is to the average person who doesn't necessarily understand, and they see the state working against individuals, and then in the criminal defense side of things and the civil rights side of things, they see the state really working against that person. Like, talk about it from your experience. Yeah.
So, I was a former prosecutor. That's how I started my legal career.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to do that because I needed to, coming out of law school, no one's really at least I wasn't confident enough to take someone's case. We're talking about life or death, right? People really do rely on you. So I was like, no, where can I learn how to be a trial lawyer without, having to worry about malpractice insurance, messing up somebody's case. So I was like, all right, let me go to the prosecutor's office. Let me do that because I've heard that it was like baptism, by fire. They threw me into court like day 2. And that's where I really learned my style, my voice. And being in that position, people see that, especially from our community, as, so you're law enforcement, you're police, right? Because you're working as a prosecutor.
Right.
But you also have to understand. I think that was a lot of the criticism that Kamala Harris was getting, when she was running for president. But and she still gets. But being in that position gave me so much power because I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it 100. I would look at a case. I'm gonna keep it 100. I looked at a case file, and without a defense lawyer coming into my office and humanizing that person to me, all I saw on my case file was a mugshot, their offense and their criminal history. So you off top already, see this person as a bad person. But I learned that people inherently weren't bad. They just made bad decisions. So for me, I would look at it and I say, okay, this person's 18. It's a marijuana charge. There isn't a victim involved. It was a nonviolent offense. I'm getting rid of this case. Now, to be able to do that required someone like me that understood where our community comes from to really give that sort of discretion, because my white counterparts weren't doing that, right?
At all.
So if they could prove a case and get the conviction, they're going to do that. To me, I was more of I looked at it as restorative justice. They weren't paying me extra to get convictions. I don't care. Now, the only time I cared is if somebody did something to someone else. If it was a crime that involved a victim, and that's another piece I want to stress. People give prosecutors a bad rap, and for good reason sometimes. But they also do defend victims, right? So I was always big on, if there's a victim involved, then I've got to look at this more seriously. But when it came to nonviolent crimes and crimes that people are making big bank on, like marijuana, I threw those. I kicked them. Now they're going to give me, now to make it look good, hey, you defendant, you've got to do something for me. Give me some community service and stay clean and give me some positive or negative UAs. I'm going to get rid of this. And that way, this person does something for me, they get something, and they don't have something that follows them for the rest of their life.
You're listening to Yodit Tewolde. Did I say it better that time?
It was better. It was
Tewolde.
good. It was good.
Tewolde, yeah. She's joining us, formerly of CourtTV, now criminal defense attorney. How long, when you started, right, because you show fairly young. When you started, how long did it take for them to take you seriously? Because I figure that's one of those professions that, Good Old Boy Network, all the judges know the prosecutors, and then the police come in and everybody know each other. And then, they see someone with that presents the way you do. How long did it take for them to take you seriously in the courtroom?
Man, people still don't take me seriously. And they ain't got nothing.
Really?
Listen. Because one, I'm a black woman. Well, I just said it. One, I'm a woman, and two, I'm black.
Yeah.
So, when I was a prosecutor, I would have white defense attorneys come in, especially the males, would come in and they would talk to me about their case. And if I said something they didn't like, they would be like, well, let me talk to your chief. Let me go around you and let me talk to the person that's supervising you. Like, they were going to say something different, right?
Right.
So I got that a lot. I get it now still because, I'm in an industry that's white male dominated. And so, if I'm going in and advocating for my client, and that's another thing I learned from being a prosecutor, I experienced very lazy defense lawyers who would go in there and not tell me a thing about their client because they didn't know anything. They didn't bother to ask.
Right.
So when I came on as a defense lawyer, I was like, I can't do that. I need to know who my clients are and where they come from and what their ambitions are and what they're trying to do in life, because at that point I feel invested, right? I got to convince a prosecutor that this person is someone they should definitely give another chance to. And so when I would go and do that, white prosecutors would look at me and say, well, calm down. Nothing pisses a woman off and anybody off.
Calm down.
To tell them to calm down. That never actually works out. You don't actually calm down. But I'm not even riled up. I'm passionate.
Right. Especially when you're calm. Calm down.
Right.
Calm down never works, especially when you're calm. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, okay, so now I'm coming in. I'm trying to fight for my client. You're telling me to calm down. Now, you wouldn't say that for anybody else. If a white male attorney walked in here and used the same tone and the same strategies as I did, you would call that advocating. And for some reason, I come in and I'm all riled up. Calm down, you're angry. So I've learned to just let it be. I don't even give it hype. I don't give it space. It used to frustrate me, but that's just what it is. So as long as I get what I want at the end of the day, hey, it's all good. And what it is that they know my reputation for taking things to trial. So as long as you have that reputation, they can't really, pull your strings a little bit, because if they know, and that was another thing I learned as a prosecutor, you get defense lawyers who never want to go to trial. They're either afraid or they're just too busy. And so at that point, you can give whatever offer to them, because what are you going to do? Take me to trial? Nah, you're not. So coming out on the other side, they know that, I'll go to trial. You can't just give me whatever. So, yeah.
Now I'm assuming, but it's probably early in your career. What are some of your aspirations? Because I'm seeing there are some judges like that are being appointed that are really, really young. I've seen a couple women recently, as a matter of fact. I don't have it in front of me. I believe one was like 26 or 27. Like, what are your aspirations?
Really young,
you're a proponent of restorative justice, and you've seen it from the inside out, and you know what the system is and what it does. Do you think people like you would be better suited to actually be in the judge's chair to affect change that way?
I'm always asked about that, and I'm never going to say that it's not something I could consider in the future. But right now, I don't feel like I'm equipped to get into the politics game. And I need to learn more about it. What I am looking at doing is taking all of my experiences that I've had, and I've essentially been at all angles. So I was an associate judge for a while, criminal defense, former prosecutor, legal analyst. So I've seen it all, and I want to take that experience and provide policy that can actually make change, because these lawmakers who who, make these laws for us, when they go in and try to form policy, they don't know it from a practical sense. So
Right.
they're sitting there telling us this is how it should be when they've never actually worked in the area they're trying to try to put expertise on, right? So they can't see the holes. They can't see, okay, no, that's actually not practical because I've actually practiced, and here is what you're trying to do. And if you try to push this policy, this is where it's going to fail because X, Y, and Z. So I think a lot of lawmakers don't have the practical experience behind the policies that they're trying to push. And so I'm trying to get into that game. And then you never know. Maybe later I may run for DA. Never know.
Yeah. Or, I mean, you said you don't have the politics experience that you could just run for president because that's the thing now.
Well, I wasn't born here, so that automatically listen.
Got it. You're listening to you're listening to the Karen Hunter Show. Lamont King is filling in, and we're being joined by Yodit Tewolde, criminal defense attorney. You might have seen her on CNN and CourtTV. I want to talk about Kamala Harris because you mentioned her earlier and the struggles that she has with, people bringing up her history and her record when she, as a prosecutor, she basically was doing her job, right?
Yeah.
And what effect should that have on her being a potential VP candidate? And is that fair? Is that fair that we give her?
I know the answer.
Yeah. I just want to hear your take.
Okay, so Kamala Harris got criticized for being a prosecutor, the top cop in California, and I don't think that position is without scrutiny. Like, people could scrutinize her record because that's what's fair, right? If she did something or pushed a policy within the department, the office that she was in, then she absolutely should answer for that. But to try to disqualify her simply because she was a prosecutor would disqualify a whole lot of black people that are in positions like that need to be in those positions. I don't feel like we need more prosecutors. I'm all about decarceration, not sending folks to prison, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So in the meantime, I'd rather have us in those positions making decisions. So I don't think that should disqualify her. Her being a woman automatically makes her a target, and then being black as well, right? She's either, too ambitious, or she is not enough to other people in terms of being black, right? So I don't think that the criticisms were fair because a lot of the candidates that were running and the candidates that are running right now, Biden and the person in the seat right now in the president's chair, they've had issues in the past. So, women just tend to get it a lot more harshly when it comes to, entering male-dominated fields. And I don't think that it was warranted. I think she'd make an excellent candidate in whatever respects in politics. I think that we need more of her. So that's my take on that.
It's wild because the too ambitious, that just sounds dumb. It just sounds dumb. When I saw that, I was like, slow news day. Too ambitious. First of all, who's not ambitious? That's going for a public job. I aspire to be. I am ambitioning. I am the active. That is the whole point. Like you would want somebody that has a fervor and an energy for the job and for the position. What is too ambitious? That is never said about anybody else. Like when
any male,
Trump,
right?
Any male. Michael Bloomberg spends $500 million in 90 days. That's ambitious. Like there was no commentary on that.
Women, there's still that mentality perpetuated in society that women should know their place. There's a ceiling, right? There's only there's only so much you can do as a woman, and so high you could go. So there is that ceiling for folks, and so once you start banging on that ceiling and want to shatter the ceiling, then there's a problem, and we've got to slow your roll. So that's why it's so incredibly important for Biden to pick a woman, a black woman, because that feeling needs to be shattered because we can go so much further. So people just need to make it a reality so that it's not something that people just can't imagine anymore, right? So even the conversations of him picking a black female VP is big, but he needs to come through and actually make that happen. So, but that's politics talk, and because I was going to get into some other issues, but you know what? I think that it's important. I can't wait to see his pick, and I think that is going to have a lot to do with people actually feeling comfortable voting for him too. Yeah.
All right. Last serious question. The Attorney General, Letitia James, New York Attorney General, came out yesterday announcing her suit against the NRA. Right. So there are a lot of moving parts to that. A lot of people not really familiar with what the NRA does, who they are. But she accused them of participating in a fraud scheme that contributed to $64 million in losses and financed lavish lifestyles featuring private jet travel to exclusive resorts and other things, according to the suit that she brought. Unchecked spending, mismanagement of funds. Break it down. What does that mean? Is it the dissolution of the NRA? Can people no longer join? Are the tops of the organization going to get fired? Are they coming to get the guns? What does that mean?
So you just said a whole mouthful there. So the AG wants to dissolve this organization, and she's done that before. You know, the AG has been successful in dissolving, the Trump Foundation, for example, right? It had a pattern of violating charity laws, and it had to be shut down. So she's done it. Now, could she do this for the National Rifle Association? Probably not. It is huge. It's a bigger organization. It's going to be a lot harder to do. But what essentially is going on is that, Wayne LaPierre, who's, the leader, the longtime leader of the NRA, him and some other execs were spending millions of dollars in membership dues paid by NRA members, who were told that their Second Amendment rights were at risk. So they were spending all this money on fancy trips and vacays, all on private flights, and they got kickbacks from organizations that, worked with the organization. And it was all in violation of the NRA's own rules and the IRS. So, what's the big deal, right? Well, when you are an officer of a nonprofit or a director of a nonprofit, you have a duty of loyalty. And what that means is that you always have to act in the best interest of the organization and not for your own personal interest, right? So when you have all these perks and you're traveling and you're saying, the NRA had to reimburse me for those costs, but really those costs were misused because they weren't even for business purposes, then we got a problem. It's just like you filing taxes and you saying, hey, I'm writing off these expenses and then not being able to prove that those expenses were business related. So, you got that whole thing. So what essentially could happen is I don't think that the whole organization is going to be dissolved. What I do think is those individuals are going to have some problems with the IRS. Okay. I think that the NRA could have a new leader. Wayne LaPierre could be removed in his role. And so I think there could be more consequences individually. But as the organization stands, you and I know and your listeners know that they are one of the most powerful advocacy groups in this country. And so, they've got lobbying power. So is that going away? Probably not. But what I do think the consequences of releasing this information to the public is it's going to rally Republicans, conservatives to say, oh, my God, here they go trying to, take your gun.
Absolutely. And see, that's what I was trying to get at, because I feel like it's going to have the adverse reaction because they already, most of their members are scared white folks who think either the government is coming for them or black people going to move in their neighborhood and rob them. And so there's already a bullet shortage. So when she said that yesterday, I'm like, man, there goes the bullets because they buying them up because they scared.
Yeah. So it has me a little nervous on top of everything else that's kind of being put out there that could confuse voters. And there's just a lot going on right now. I don't even know what's going to happen on election day. So,
All right. 866-801-8255. I want to go to the phones real quick. Go to New Orleans and talk to Lloyd. Lloyd, welcome to the program.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, we good.
Hey.
Good. A couple of things. There's a whole lot y'all are talking about that's great stuff. But I called in to talk about Kamala Harris. And I wanted to be real clear about something. Folks are not are not unhappy with her because she was a prosecutor or because she's a woman. It's because of what she did when she was the top cop in the state of California. There's a whole bunch of stuff that folks found out about and said, well, wait a minute, do we really want someone that looks like us that's not for us? And I can't remember the lady's name in New York, but now I would vote for her, as she should be top of the list for VP, because even if she doesn't win, at least she stepped out to do the right thing.
Wait a minute, the one you don't remember, you would vote for her?
No, her name. I don't know her name, but she just.
So when you get in the booth, and her name is there, what you gonna do?
Well, I would make sure I knew her name when I went in.
Okay.
If she was picked for the, I just don't know her name. The Attorney General in New York that just went after the NRA. That's somebody that is actually doing something. And Kamala, when Kamala or any elected official that is a black elected official that doesn't use their position to push for the livelihood of black people, they're useless. They're useless.
All right, Lloyd, I appreciate.
So I would say look at Stacey Abrams because she's doing something. Kamala hasn't done. She had the chance to put thousands of people out of jail that shouldn't be there, and she didn't take the opportunity. What are you going to do as vice president?
Well, I appreciate your call, Lloyd. Thank you for that perspective. It went right over Lloyd's head. Hey, Lloyd, I be funny sometimes. I was just making fun of you. It's Letitia James. It's Letitia James. But yeah, he's right. There is a distinction between what she did, what she was as Kamala Harris, what she was as a prosecutor, and what she did as a prosecutor. So that we're not missed on that. So I appreciate that, Lloyd. Moving forward, Yodit, give me a wild courtroom story, because since your show is no more, I've been forced to watch CourtTV. What is it? Camera Court Live. Have you seen that?
Oh,
With
I've
the
seen
different
those. Yeah, people. Let me tell you, that stuff is. I'm telling you, I think I've become somewhat numb to the theatrics of it all, but it is so real because you're talking about people's real lives. You're talking about real emotions, raw emotions, really, getting involved. I don't like the exploitation of shows like that, that show, say, real fathers and parents who are emotionally triggered by, the person that did harm to their family members' children, and they're reacting. That's not for people to watch and laugh at, but it's real. It does happen. And I will say that a lot of my friends love to get me, to talk about my cases because they're so fascinated by how exciting and funny and, just how my days are always different. They're never the same. So one particular day stands out, and I've shared it on social media before, and it happens all the time. And I forget that people need this sort of guidance, in that if you're going to court, you have to dress appropriately, right? Like, if it's not what you normally look like, try to at least fake it for the day, right?
Yeah.
And some people don't have it. They don't have a suit and tie. I get it, but don't show up to court, please. If you're charged with marijuana and you show up to court, okay,
looking like marijuana.
In a 420 shirt, like a highlight shirt.
Yeah. No, that's not. Yeah.
How are you helping me help you? So I'm looking at my client like, first of all, you smell like weed, but fine. But we're going into court, and you want to appear before the judge with some marijuana leaves on your shirt. So I made the man literally flip his shirt inside out. This is what I got to deal with.
Oh, wow.
So, when you have that, or you have, I've got clients who literally, I've got to tell them all the time, like, lying to me is not in your best interest. I promise you I'm going to find out eventually. And then we're both going to look mad dumb because they're going to catch you off guard and catch me off guard. And I would like for you to just understand that you could tell me anything. I can't tell people what you tell me. I promise I won't do that. I could lose my license. But please tell me the truth. And when I tell you it never happens, okay, let me not say it. I will say 90% of the time it does not happen. And they will look at me in court. I'll look at them while proceedings are happening. And I'm hearing something I've never heard before. And I'm looking at my client like I give them that eye, like your mom gives you when you're in public. And
because there's no way to defend it.
Doing something.
You can't defend them after that.
No, there was just no time. There was no time. You're catching me. They're catching me off guard. This should have come from you. And he's looking at me like, what you gonna do? Like, brother, you should, And then I have the clients that will deny something tooth and nail until they're out of breath. And then I've got to literally just wait until they decide to tell me the truth. And when they don't, I show them a video of them literally robbing a place. And I'm like, that ain't you? And they will come up with everything, Lamont, to tell me that's not them. And I'm like, this is just not going to work.
And they wearing the same thing. They got the same outfit on and everything.
I mean,
same jacket.
I can zoom in. It don't even matter about the clothes. I'm zooming in. I'm looking at your face. And he's like, well, I mean, that person looks kind of heavy. No, I'm like, then no, come on. So it really it's funny afterwards. It's a stressful job, but it's rewarding. It really is. But I have stories for days, Lamont.
Yeah,
you wouldn't believe it.
Court Cam. I just looked it up. It's Court Cam. That's the one I'll be watching. And they be and the ones I really like is when the judges, go off because either somebody's in the courtroom being disrespectful or not taking it seriously.
Yeah. You'll have defendants sometimes attacking prosecutors or you'll have like when you see deputies by the droves around like in the vicinity, that this person could just pop off any moment. Like they've had a situation like that before.
Right.
I've seen moments where I'm like, let me back up real quick because you typically don't have one bailiff. Why they have like five? Something's about to go down or could go down. So I move out the way. But that's what you're watching on that program.
Yeah. Well, good to go. Yodit Tewolde. I think I got it right there. I think I got it. Yodit Tewolde.
You got it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to phonetically spell it for you so you can see it.
Yeah, that maybe that too. So you got some big deal coming soon. You can't announce it. Maybe we'll have you back when it's closer, and we'll talk about that. And you're back in the courtroom. And anything else going on of note that we should know about in your world?
Other than these videos with I'm going to be explaining and breaking down certain things with like Breona Taylor's case and voting laws in your states. That's really important because we're like less than 90 days out. So with the Griot, that's coming out. So I should be coming with a video soon next week. But other than that, just, follow me on social media for anything related to legal. That's just my thing. I really want to take my experiences and pass that knowledge on to people who could really use it to make life-changing decisions in their life. I mean, laws that affect you every day. It's really important to keep people informed. So, that's it.
Now, one final thing, because you mentioned Breona Taylor. So I don't know if you're familiar with that. Oprah put up 26 billboards in the Louisville area demanding that her killers Breona Taylor's killers be brought to justice. What do you think kind of effect that's going to have? Is that going to make the Attorney General's office react in any way?
Well, here's the thing. When you have social activism, when you have people pulling their collective power together to make things happen, it's important to get the attention of those that can make these decisions really, really work. But I will say that none of that should have an impact on whether the actions of those officers and anybody outside of those officers, because this is actually a bigger type case that was flawed from the very beginning. None of that should influence people to charge anybody out of fear. If the facts don't fit the law, we don't indict. Listen, I want those officers to face accountability because they're the only ones that can literally not be arrested. And you have one person who's got their finger behind the trigger, and then you have a person that's dead. if you and I had done that, we would be behind bars now, okay? So do I want them to be held accountable? Yes. Do I think that the charge of first-degree murder for each and every single one of them is the appropriate charge at the moment? From what we do know, I do not. And there are reasons for that. And I explained that in the video that I'm going to come out with the Griot. But, you know, having these sort of big push efforts like with Oprah and these billboards, again, should have no effect on anybody doing things out of pure pressure, because at the end of the day, that works against us too. Imagine the kind of rallying cry that could happen for us. And then if we had officials doing things because of that, they'd be charging us too. They do it already, but imagine. So you got to keep it fair, and you just got to keep it at the facts and the law. And then you have to make that assessment. Do I think that the AG who's making the decision, should he come out and say something about the case and keep us informed while keeping, you know, the integrity of the investigation intact? Absolutely. He's not doing that. So that's making people really angry. So, you know, I got to say it shouldn't have any impact on that. No. It's a great gesture. It's keeping her name in the press, and that's important, but it shouldn't sway anybody one way or the other.
Wow, that's an interesting take. I didn't even think about it that way. Yodit Tewolde, appreciate you. Thank you for coming by. A round of applause.
Thank you, Lamont, for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, hope to have you back sooner than later. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining the show. Enjoy your weekend.